we be happy with a third and fourth place for Scuderia Ferrari in the 2024 Formula One Japanese Grand Prix? Not at all if we stop to look just at the simple overall result. Yes, if we take into consideration what the realistic expectations were ahead of the Suzuka race weekend. In the fourth round of the 2024 Formula One Championship, Scuderia Ferrari was not in the spotlight and Red Bull dominated very clearly. Max Verstappen did whatever he wanted, Sergio Perez played his role as a wingman and crossed the finish line with a gap of about 12 seconds, without too much effort. A double win without discussions at the 5.807-kilometer Suzuka International Racing Course on Sunday for a Red Bull RB19 car that didn't suffer from tire degradation on a very difficult track, being fast only when necessary, which to be honest was almost never. Against the best Red Bull of the year, Ferrari didn't disappoint. Carlos Sainz's 20-second gap in third place indicates a pace deficit of about 0.4 per lap, which is not negligible. But there was no collapse. On the contrary, the SF24 cars convinced, attacked, showed with Charles Leclerc that they have completely overcome the difficulties of past years when the tires crumbled over the race distance. Both Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc raced well, and there wasn't even the excitement of a duel between the two Maranello drivers, because when, with 7 laps to go, Carlos Sainz swooped down like a hawk on Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque stepped aside, knowing that any attempt to resist would have been useless given the circumstances. A direct confrontation with Red Bull was missing, as the Austrian side is still too far ahead. But the Japanese Grand Prix has shown there is concrete hope that from now on, Ferrari can win more races and provide excitement to fans, even though in the title fight, one must be very realistic and it will take more time. With Carlos Sainz's podium in Japan, the Italian side has once again proven to be clearly the second force of the 2024 championship. The Spanish driver had a very solid race, without mistakes and with a consistent pace. Red Bull continues to be a cut above considering the updates brought to Suzuka, while the SF24 will see its first significant developments in the coming weeks between Miami and the Imola Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz once again outperformed Charles Leclerc, but the Monegasque's performance in the race was extremely impressive, and Charles rightfully received the Driver of the Day award from fans. The real problem is that starting 8th, he couldn't delude himself into performing miracles. The strategy, almost obligatory, of a single stop was ingenious. However, if Charles Leclerc had started in the first 2 rows, the final result would not have been much different this time. Obviously, the work now needs to focus on widening the window in which the tires perform at their best, especially in terms of flying laps and qualifying. But the Monegasque driver made a beautiful comeback, which was not guaranteed on a tricky track for overtaking like Suzuka. The Ferrari driver, with just 1 stop that was theoretically not recommended on this track, managed the first stint with medium tires excellently, overtaking the 2 McLaren cars and the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso thanks to a pace made possible by an SF24 that is easy to drive. The single-seater designed in the Maranello factory confirms its ability to adapt very well to tire degradation, and the Suzuka test was objectively tough, considering the gap suffered by the prancing horse just last September. By looking at the final results from last year's Japanese Grand Prix, we can see that the trend of gaps halved, as compared to 2023 continues for the Maranello team, just like in the first 2 rounds of the 2024 Formula One season in Bahrain and Jeddah. Ferrari enjoys a consistent Carlos Sainz, calm and aware of his strength. The Spaniard has never been as reliable as this year, probably due to a car that seems to adapt very well to his characteristics, at least this base version of the SF24 that has not yet received significant updates. It's the 3rd consecutive podium for the Spaniard, considering the fact that was not able to take part in the Jeddah event. Practically in every race of 2024, the Spaniard finished among the top 3, and the regret for that appendicitis operation, obviously necessary, but which deprived him of an even better position, is even bigger. Carlos Sainz's satisfaction is palpable. He is serene, and he is an important asset for Ferrari's season, despite the fact that he will leave the team at the end of the year. Charles Leclerc should also be happy at the end of the Japanese Grand Prix, but not too much, and it can't be otherwise. The Monegasque has always had his strength on Saturday's fast lap, but evidently with the characteristics of the SF24, a different kind of work needs to be done than usual, something that Carlos Sainz is certainly doing better in this start of the season, even if the Spaniard is not shining in qualifying either. With a result matching his abilities, Charles Leclerc could have easily fought for the podium today. The good thing is that Scuderia Ferrari has shaken off the threat of a potential challenge from McLaren, which in the race is not as strong as in the qualifying sessions, while the Suzuka race has further distanced Mercedes from the top positions, with Lewis Hamilton, 9th, being slower than George Russell, 7th again. And there are those in Ferrari who are starting to worry. Carlos Sainz is worried too, as he will leave a Ferrari team in good conditions for 2025 to go who knows where, since all the other teams are struggling. But he dismisses the negative thoughts by focusing on the present, on the big challenge of fighting to stay ahead of Charles Leclerc. And he can't do anything else at the moment.